This is Basis 18. Alistair Martin is a new kid on the block. Brand new, in fact. He's come through an online radio station run by Mark Murphy. And we're grateful to him, and he's contacted the Ammach project, which has done a 2-hour interview with him for broadcast. This is the Basis 18 detailed 4-hour interrogation of Alistair on his claims that he has been abducted, downloaded, lots of information has been downloaded to him from extra-dimensionals who have appeared in his hotel room or a bed and breakfast in Earl's Court in London. But crucially, as a follow-on from Basis 17, where we discovered or discussed a black goo, which was the origins of the ET elements of the Falklands War, researched by David Griffith. Now, the point about this is this goo has got intelligence, it's self-aware, and it's got its own agenda. This has been kept secret and essentially kept behind the scenes for about 30 years. Alistair is now saying that this is in the London sewage system. The military and the industrial complex has essentially dumped this intelligent, sentient fluid into the groundwater sewage system. And it's alive, it's multiplying, and it's got awareness and intelligence. Because of his claims that he has been contaminated by this fluid and that he's saying that it's in the London sewage system, we've decided to give him a full interrogation, 4 odd hours of searching through his past ET experiences and also his claims that it's in the groundwater system, in the sewage system in London, West London. Because this directly relates with my own personal research in certain areas in that geographical location. Now, crucially, the link between it being a liquid, its home is in crude oil. But crucially, it's a hyperdimensional, aware, cognitive substance with its own agenda. So when I have been dealing with black energy and all sorts of stuff like that in broadcast systems and intelligence, that's to say information systems, computer systems, electrical supply systems, which other sources have indicated these black entity type things are in, and we have a black goo associated with that, principally transmitters which look as if they've been dipped in crude oil. That's in the etheric domain. Now, the point is that Alistair is saying that is the black goo, that is the sentient fluid, that's it working. It's able to shift its domain of existence. It's a multidimensional intelligent fluid from the earth. Where it came from, is it natural to the earth? Whether any of his claims are true, we don't know. So, this is Basis 18, introducing Alistair Martin on sentient fluid. Hello. Okay, Alistair Martin.
Yep.
Do you agree to be interviewed for the Basis series?
Yes, I do.
Great, and well, thank you very much. I'm very glad that
Thank you.
volunteered to come here.
That's okay.
Via the Ammach project, I would add.
Yeah, the Ammach project found you through Miles. Dave. Sorry.
Dave Marrow?
No. Mark Murphy.
Oh, Mark. Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Mark Murphy.
Alternative Future Radio.
So how did you get onto the Mark Murphy show? Because I think we appeared about the after that.
Yeah, basically I was on the forum. There's a few different forums which I was looking at, and I just joined about 2, and then I was on one of them and I saw Mark was looking for someone who had an experience of basically being abducted by ETs. And I sent him a message on the forum, and then we exchanged email addresses, and then after about a couple of months back and forth talking, I decided to be on his show, The Out There Hour. So I was on there for
I think we managed to do about 90 minutes, actually. When we did it, we didn't know it was an hour.
Oh, I see.
So
did a bit more.
We rounded it up to around 90 minutes.
Okay.
So tell us how all that went, and how did they react to that?
Well, basically, it went quite well. It was on Skype quite early in the morning, and there's Mark and there's another man on as well. I can't remember his name, but they both asked questions, and I just relayed my experience of what I went through.
But how did they? The principal reason why I'm asking this is, I mean, you're not known in the UFO community or the conspiracy thing. So why did they choose you out of Adam, basically?
I think probably from the emails, because I gave quite detailed explanations of what had happened to me in the emails, and I think the way I explained what happened was quite, succinct, and I suppose it made sense to Mark. So I'm not known to the UFO community because I've always just stayed in my own sort of social circles, and I never really joined any of the forums or any of the.
Now, what would you describe as forums? I mean, you're aware of which ones?
Well, I don't even remember the name of the forum that I joined when I spoke to Mark.
I mean, was it Project Avalon or Camelot or?
I think I joined Project Avalon. Yeah, but I didn't really spend a lot of time on there because mostly I just if something strange happens, I kind of block it out. Some people go and join forums and talk to other people, which is what I'm hoping to do now, because it would be helpful if I had some sort of explanation for these experiences and could meet other people that have had things happen. However, in my own social circle, I talk to people and, tell them, I've got a couple of friends who have had certain things happen and they've got theories on ETs and everything. But these are just people that I've met in normal sort of everyday life circumstances rather than in a UFO event or forum.
In other words, a lot of your friends aren't a bunch of wackos and
basically my friends are just people from school and people from different gyms that I've gone to and the martial arts community. So yeah, I haven't really networked among the UFO community.
So essentially, we could say then that your information isn't sort of coloured by the other UFO side of things.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let's get down to your actual data then.
Okay.
I mean, where does it start?
Well, my first, I've had some strange experiences in my life, but I had something happen which was really, really bizarre, and so bizarre that it really impacted me psychologically and emotionally. And that was when I was 22 years old. I was staying in a bed and breakfast hotel, and something that looked like mud started to appear on the glass of the window, and I was like, where's that come from? What is it? Has someone thrown it? But it seemed to just manifest rather than hit the window. So I went over to the window and I looked at it and I was wondering, what's going on? There's no one out there throwing anything. The window was completely clean, and now it's got this brown mud stuff on the lower half of it.
I mean, were you on the ground floor or?
No, I was second floor.
I mean, you weren't near starlings or people or birds that would be making nests in the rooftop or something like that.
It was in Earls Court, which is quite a populated area. It doesn't really have wildlife or anything like that. Right. So, I went back over to the bed and I sat on the bed, and I could feel some sort of presence. And then there was a full materialization of a being who said he goes by the name of Vivet. He had long...
Vivet, could you spell that?
Vivet. I would say it's Vaivet. So Vivet, if you're spelling it phonetically. And he just, he had long hair, down, and he looked, he was very tall. He didn't look particularly extraterrestrial. You know, he didn't have like a warped head shape or big eyes or anything. He looked quite human. However, because he just appeared as if by magic, I just assumed it was something extra. You know,
how did you react to that?
terrified. I was absolutely terrified.
I mean, what did he? Was he like a human being? Was he clothed or
Clothed, tall, long hair, and he was.
what complexion?
Well, he was Caucasian.
Right.
Yeah, but he had powers. You know, that the fact that he was able to appear, to materialize, and you know the atmosphere was different. You know, the mood. Yeah, I could pick up on, you know, the energy of the situation, but I was very terrified. And then he was able to control my fear, so he was able to make me feel completely at ease with his presence. And he was able to make me laugh, and he would you know, make sort of facial expressions, certain kinds of facial expressions which would calm me down, and then he would make comments and statements about my inner state and what I was thinking. And he was there for about 20.
So he was verbalizing these.
Yeah.
And in what tone or what language, what accent?
Sort of very, very not American, not English, but just really clear English, just very well.
BBC English?
Not like that, but just very clear, no particular accent, you know. So maybe there's a twinge of American,
Right.
just a tiny bit, but you know, it was like a mix of American and English.
So it wasn't Scottish, it wasn't north of
No,
England, it
nothing
wasn't
like that.
posh, it wasn't a posh English.
No.
Okay.
A bit of American in there, you know, but
Certainly not posh then.
no. So he was able to make me laugh. He was able to calm my mood down and stop me, even though I was afraid from the situation being so strange.
How did he actually materialize?
Just appeared.
It just blink on and it was there?
Blink on and it was there. Yeah.
Is there anything that would indicate that it was a projection? How would you know it was actually real?
Yeah, it could have been like a hologram. It could. I didn't physically touch him, but the detail and everything. He wasn't see-through. He wasn't shadowy. You know, I could clearly see him very, very perfectly.
And so, how did he speak? How did he introduce himself to you? How did the whole thing start? And what did he say?
He said he was Vivert. So he says along the lines of, I am Vivert.
And these were verbalized things coming from his
out
mouth?
Loud from his mouth.
Okay.
Yeah. And he was saying things like, you're going to love this. And like he was sort of commenting on the effect that he was able to have on my mood. So he was able to make me feel very tranquil, very calm. And then he was commenting on what I was experiencing. So he was saying things like, "Oh, isn't that good?" So he would make me feel really calm, and then he'd say, "Oh, isn't that good?" He would make me feel less afraid. So he would say, "You know, you won't feel afraid because I can control the way you feel." That's what he said to me. So
was that almost sounds like some kind of hypnotic things, as if he was inducing some kind of trance to you?
Yeah, exactly. And this went on for about 20 or so minutes.
That's a long time.
Yeah. And I was often laughing, you know, especially as we got into it. I was really, you know, often just laughing. You know, he was able to just make me laugh.
What do you
like
mean by
comedian.
getting into it? What did he bring you into?
Some sort of state of relaxation and feeling really safe and at ease and without feeling like I'm in any danger at all. Even though technically I should feel those things. So he was picking up on the fact that contextually, you know, I should be feeling scared and shocked by what was going on. But he was able to stop me from going down those lines of thinking and, you know, feeling.
And having done this, what happened? What was the point of this?
Well, it started to get more complicated because he started to dematerialize. He started to vanish. And
in what way did he vanish? Did bits of him vanish, like his legs?
Exactly. Yeah,
or?
like not like his legs and then his upper body. He started to just go a bit fuzzy, that there was distortion in my vision, and he was going away. And then as he was nearly gone, another being appeared in the room with very heavy set eyes and did have a warped sort of head shape and everything, and did look.
Now, but did this other being appear in the same position as the
No,
first being?
to the side
Right.
of Vivert. So Vivert was head on. He was facing me head on, and then another being came in from the side, sort of out of the wall, as Vivert was going away. And this being did have a warped head shape, like big eyes, heavy set eyes, extraterrestrial looking being.
So, do you have a drawing of that?
I have a drawing of other beings.
Well, no, let's just stick to this one now.
I don't have a drawing of that particular being because.
So, can you describe it in better way? I mean, when you said it had a warped face,
the shape of the head wasn't like symmetrical. It was a bit warped, a bit like a carnival mirror. So when you look in a carnival mirror, it can make the shape of your head just warped slightly, so it's not as symmetrical as a normal head.
I mean, was the head a different shape, size? Or,
it was it had like it was not completely like oval. It had like a slightly bigger upper than the lower, so its head was slightly bigger than the lower half.
So the head itself was unusually large.
It was disproportionate to the rest of the face.
And what height was the being then?
He was in a crouched position, so I don't know how.
So he was actually kneeling down in some way, crouched.
Yeah, exactly. Vivert was tall, although
6 feet.
He would probably have been over 6 feet. However, he was also.
And was he built very strong or very thin or weak?
Slim, not in a weak way, but he was slim, athletic.
What sort of clothing was he wearing?
He had a big jacket on.
What type of jacket?
Like a windproof jacket.
Was there any insignia on that jacket?
None.
Was it like a winter jacket or a
It looked
raincoat?
like a winter jacket, a windproof winter
I mean, for instance,
jacket.
you're wearing a sort of a jacket with
Nothing like this.
Nothing. Okay, so it wasn't like any kind of uniform or
no. It was very casual.
What kind of fashion? Was it casual fashion?
Very casual. Yeah, like a windproof winter jacket with a shirt on and dark trousers, and I didn't really see the shoes, but I would assume they would have been just a normal pair of shoes.
Right. So this was, in all intents and purposes, a perfectly human.
Yeah. Yeah. Vivert looked very normal.
I mean, are you talking? Would you say that the fashion was sort of 1950s or 60s or 70s or
90s?
90s.
Yeah.
But not 2000. I mean, this was when you were 20.
He wasn't trendy.
So I mean, it was current for the time when you saw it.
No, this happened. I was 22 years old.
Right.
So I'm 26 now. So it's 4 years ago.
Oh right. Okay.
So
this is a very new experience for you.
Yeah. This particular experience was new for me. I have had strange things happen, but they've not been so strange that they've really affected me and impacted my psychology.
Well, let's concentrate on this particular thing, and then maybe we can go back to your earlier experiences.
Yeah, of course.
So, okay, so the first being disappeared, right?
Yeah.
And he just faded out into like just getting thinner and weaker.
Yeah.
Visually.
It's sort of shot out of the window, if that makes sense, but sort of on a higher frequency than the window. So he shot back and disappeared. But
I mean, are you saying like he zoomed out like a visual picture?
Yeah, but very thin. Like he wasn't like as material as he was when he was sitting down and doing the dialogue.
So he initially was standing and then he sat down.
He appeared and he was standing and then he sat down. Yeah, very quickly.
On a
chair.
On a chair in the room, and had a dialogue.
There was a chair, there was a table, there was a mirror.
So this went on for like half an hour.
A bit more than 20 minutes, something like half an hour.
And then the purpose of that was really just to get you cooled down and ready for the next guy.
Possibly. I've got a few different theories on.
Well, what are those?
Well, the thing is, I'm not sure the other guy liked Vivert. Perhaps what Vivert was doing is illegal, like cosmically illegal or something. To do whatever it was he was doing, and the other guy could have been some sort of law enforcement.
Why?
Because why would Vivett go away and disappear? You know, as the other guy's coming in, it seemed that way.
And what in the 20 minutes did he cover, or what was covered?
The thing with Vivett was all about my mood and making me feel at ease and not afraid, and also making me laugh. However, things got more complicated when Vivett went and the new man appeared. He gave me a communication, like sort of telepathically, as if to say what's going on here isn't okay. You know, he was angry with
Now, who gave you that telepathic?
the second being, which appeared with the bigger upper head, and the eyes were set far back and they were dark and they were very piercing.
What could you see the actual eye?
I could.
And what was that?
I could see both the eyes, and they were dark, very strong, set back in the head, and very piercing.
Was there any color or
Sort of
brown
black.
eye? Just
Black
and
eyes.
they were round eyes.
They were round, yeah.
And they weren't. And did they have any other color in there?
No.
At all? And what about the nose and the mouth and stuff like that?
The nose was normal. The mouth was normal. The ears were weird. In fact, the ears were one of the most prominent, strange things about this particular being. They weren't, you know, they were quite geometric. Like it's like a straight line, you know, and then like where we have the earlobe, it's as if they have two earlobes. So there's one at the top and there's one at the bottom, and the ear's quite straight. It doesn't curve around like ours do.
What about hair or anything like that?
Had hair, short hair.
Short, curly brown, black,
Straight,
red, blonde.
dark, short, straight hair.
And what's his complexion? Dark, an overall dark?
Caucasian, but not very pale. Like it had some maybe olive skin, you know, just a bit of color in there.
So, what sort of the distortion you mentioned about this?
The upper head
Yeah.
was a bit bigger relative to the rest of the face.
He had more brains.
Yeah.
In what way did it go? Could you see the side profile of his head in any way?
No. I could see from the front.
Right. I'm just suggesting there are some skulls have a further back. They go back further.
He might have had that.
South American.
He might have had that, but I wouldn't have been able to see it.
So he didn't sort of turn his
No,
head round.
he didn't turn.
Okay. So what did he actually say? Or did he? It was all telepathic with him, or did he verbalize?
He didn't verbalize. It was completely telepathic, and it was like this situation isn't okay. You know, what's going on here isn't okay. So Vivett had just been there. This new one came into the picture.
Now, what was he wearing? Was he any insignia or any?
Just, not just like probably some sort of T-shirt, not a shirt with a collar. Just like it looked a bit military, you know, but not like it. You know.
Did he have anything around his neck?
No.
No. Well, how was his neck? Was it thick or thin?
It wasn't thick. It was just right. Yeah,
Yeah.
It was just like normal.
Right. And what about his hands or any other part of him?
I didn't look at his hands. I mean, I was staring at his face and his head, and I was so freaked out, you know, that I didn't really analyze the rest of his body. And he didn't make me feel at ease. The first one was able to make me feel at ease, but the second one didn't.
The first one, based on what you've said, implied that he was trying to hypnotize you.
Yeah.
And make you, make you at ease. From what I would gather, maybe for a nefarious purpose. Would that be correct?
Nefarious?
Yeah. In other words, he was calling you into something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Is that how you...
I think he was setting me up for something, you know, possibly what happened after the second being left.
Okay, so let's get on to the second being of what we'll go in there.
Well, when he left, I had information downloaded into my head.
How did that happen?
Well, I had a sense that there was, you know, some sort of extraterrestrial, a collective of extraterrestrials above the hotel. You know, I couldn't see that they were there, but there was a psychic connection, like a telepathic connection, and I had strange sort of white light sort of beaming into my head. So I would have like a type of video screen in front of my eyes, but it was purely psychic, and it had white light in specific formations and things, and it all meant something. So it was like symbols.
And this happened after the second guy, the nameless second guy, disappeared.
Yeah.
And how did he disappear? He went through the window as well?
Through the mirror.
The mirror?
Yeah.
And he came into the room through the mirror?
Yes.
So what sort of tone of voice did he telepath in? Was it any accent in that?
No, it wasn't words. It was just feeling,
right.
Strong.
And how long did that last?
Not long at all. Maybe 2 minutes, something like that.
Okay. And then this download started.
When he left, the presence of there being a group of extraterrestrials entered into the room, and I felt that they were situated above the hotel.
And what were you doing in the hotel anyway?
I was just staying in the hotel for a few days.
Right. In Earl's Court.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
This download was basically infinity. Because normally we can't really conceptualize infinity, because apparently our brains aren't able to do it. However, my brain was able to do it when I was having this information download. So there was all this like white light in specific formations, like small beams of lines in patterns, and it was just pure information, and it was about the universe, different species, different entities, and infinity. There was a strong visualization of what infinity is.
And what is that? What's the main thing that they taught us? Yeah. Okay.
Well, basically, if you count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, forever, and then if you count backwards, -1, -2, -3, -4, forever. So you've got the numbers going backwards, minus forever. Got the numbers going forwards, forever, and it really is. You can really feel that sense of forever. And then there's another thing which they showed me, which is if the numbers go up 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, -2, -4, -6, it's a smaller infinity. So it's something which goes on forever, but it's smaller than the one that has 1, 2, 3, 4, because there's more numbers in the one that just goes up by 1 than there is in the one that goes up and down by 2. So they showed me bigger and smaller infinities. So I had things which were infinite, which were really, really big, and then things which were infinite that were really, really small, but they were also infinite. So the whole concept of, because normally you would think, oh, if something is infinite, then it's just as big as something else that's infinite, because they're both infinite, but actually there can be bigger and smaller ones.
Was this relative dimensions?
Yeah.
So we explain further.
Well, basically, it kind of applies to consciousness. So they were saying your consciousness can have existed forever. So that, and they were like, I couldn't really see the details, but basically past lives of mine were coming up into the.
And what did those past lives involve?
They're just similar to this one. They're different. But they're not all human, different species, different planets.
What are the planets and species?
They range from things like monkeys to house pets, as well as sentient humanoids like what we are. So it's just like 2 arms, 2 legs, upright, sentient, aware that they're aware. However, there were lives where I was something like a god. But a very, very long time ago, and what their message was, with the reincarnation cycle being infinite, there are times when you are some type of super being, but eventually, because of time, you end up dead and reincarnated again, and you could be reincarnated as something much lesser. But it's quite complicated. But it's basically infinity of lives.
Is there any? I'm thinking of, is there any any qualification for why you would be one thing or another?
Yes, there is some kind of remnant memory. So for instance, if someone has Alzheimer's, they lose their memory of this life. However, the way they sit on a chair, their demeanor, that doesn't change that much. So there's a type of memory which is like intuitive, and it's much more subtle, and it doesn't get erased by death.
Okay, I just want to take one little break there. This past life thing,
Yeah.
a multiple lives and things
Yeah.
like that.
Well, the main thing is they download the concept of infinity into my head first, so that because otherwise you start asking the question. If they tell you that there's such a thing as reincarnation, you often will say to them, yeah, but when does it start? So I've had a life before this one, but did I have a life before that one as well? So before they tell you about reincarnation, they tell you infinity first, so that you can understand that it's possible that you've just had an infinite number of them.
So in other words, they just get the the ground boundaries set up so you can understand the whole thing.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Another thing, they want you to understand that some people have a bigger infinity than other people. So even though you've both had an infinite number of lives, just like, going up by 1 or going up by 2 each. So if I go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 forever, and someone else goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 forever, like going up by 1 each time forever or going up by 2 each time forever, one will have more numbers in it than the other one. So even though 2 people could both have had an infinite number of lives, one of them might be a bigger infinity than the other, if that makes sense.
And do they have any control over that, or how they can access that or deal with it?
I'm not sure if there's any way of. I mean, from life to life, you can influence the next one, because what you learn and your experiences that you take to a very deep level, they carry through. So, for instance, if you use a computer a lot and then it starts to pack in, you buy a new one, but the new one doesn't have any memory, but the way that you use it will be based on how you use the one before it. So if you've had a series of computers, even though you haven't, got memory on the new one, your experiences of using the previous ones influences the way you use the new one. So when you've got a new body, it won't have any memory in it, but the way you use it will be similar to the way you used the one before it, even though you don't remember the one before it.
Right, so you don't have active memory of the reality you're in, but you just how to use it better.
The way you use it, yeah.
Okay, so this was in the download you got in the hotel.
Yeah.
Tell us more about this download and what was involved.
Well, the next thing, after introducing me to infinity, reincarnation, infinite number of lives, some people having a bigger infinite number of lives than other people, even though they're both infinite, the fact that we were once some form of super being. After this information, there was information about 9/11. So what they did was they made me experience what it was like to be in the World Trade Centers, like burning and everything like that. So like neurologically, psychologically, and emotionally, to experience the suffering. They had some sort of suffering pattern, like a machine that can run a pattern or a recording of a specific pattern of suffering, so that you can get empathy and sympathy on
so you actually experienced the terror and the whole thing that went on there?
Yeah.
Or did you experience something like that?
Something like it. Yeah. It
and
was
what,
like it.
What did that do?
It's a recording. So, for instance, all the suffering and everything is like neurological, psychological, and emotional patterns, which can be recorded, and then these ETs are able to run the recording on you, so that you experience the same patterns, even though you're not in the situation, but you have the experience of what it feels like.
And this all happened in this hotel room.
Yeah.
So let's continue. That was an experience. How did that convey? How did they convey that to you? How did they introduce that to you, or did it just sort of bingo keep happening?
It was kind of introduced. The 9/11 came up as a concept, and then it comes up as concept first, and then the pattern of it, what it was like to be in it, was run on me. So I experienced the pain and the suffering, and then they said to me, in telepathy, but I'll translate it into English. They said to me, "What the fuck is this? You know, like what the hell is this? You know, what is 9/11? You know, as in, it's so bad. What, you know, why is it so bad? You know." And then the next thing they said to me was, "What is wrong with you?" Not me specifically, but the human race in general. So what is this? Like, it's, what the hell is this? And what's wrong with you, as in the human race?
So they were trying to ask you, what the hell are you doing this for? What's going on?
Exactly.
And what was your response to that?
I said there are some people in this world that don't have enough empathy, and they harm people, and you know, I'm not one of them. And if it was up to me, it wouldn't have happened.
And how did they respond to that?
They said they knew that.
But they wanted to know that to know what you
think
about that.
Yeah, exactly.
So what happened? Again, what evolved after that? What happened after that? Or do you have anything further to say on that?
Well, I didn't enjoy the experience. It was very painful. You know, the technology that they used was very effective. You know, I really did suffer. You know, it was terror. It was a terror. You know.
And I mean, were you in your hotel room, you know, lying on your bed or whatever, screaming?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I mean, did anybody not hear this?
Well, something strange. The next door, the person in the room next door jumped out of their window around this time.
They jumped out of the window?
They jumped out of the window.
And how high was he up?
Not high. He didn't die, but he did break his back.
Okay, so he jumped. So was he? Were you able to talk to this person?
Yeah, I ran into him in the street, something like a couple of years later.
That's a bit of a coincidence.
Yeah, it was a very strange coincidence. He was able to walk. You know, he has some metal rods in his back. You know, but I said to him, "Why did you jump out of the window?" And he said something came over him.
So are you suggesting he was having the same experience you were?
Exactly.
The difference is that you didn't jump out of the bloody window.
But I didn't jump out of the window. So his name is Michael, and without a doubt, he jumped out of the window. A couple of years later, I saw him in Notting Hill Gate near the station, walking on the main road. I stopped him and I said to him, "Are you okay? You know, how's your back? And why did you jump out of the window?" And he said to me, something came over him.
Was he able to remember anything about what that was?
I didn't press him further. Like, I was tempted to say, "Did you have, you know, the same experience that I had?" But I felt it wasn't right to ask, you know.
And what about his back? I mean, what did he land on?
He landed on the concrete.
Jesus. So that
his back broke, like a bone broke, and he had some metal rods put in. So one thing he told me was that in the winter he can feel the metal.
Okay, you've been experiencing this. You've been shown this event through a form of sort of lines and things coming into your mind. I mean, can you? I
can still remember it. I can still remember the white lines of light in specific patterns.
The things which come to my mind is like a little bit at the end of 2001: A Space Odyssey. There are lines and things all coming towards you.
Yeah.
Is it anything like that?
Yeah, it's not exactly like that, but yeah, it's like a visual. It's like a visual image, a moving image that you see in your visual field, you know. But it's not like overlapped over the top of reality. You know that it's not in the room with you, if that makes sense. You know, it's in your mind.
So basically, they seem to be sort of asking, "What the hell are you guys doing?"
Yeah, exactly.
And what happened after that? What led from that?
Well, these ones seem to be only just discovering 9/11. So obviously it happened some time ago. But these beings, whoever they are, I think they only just encountered our world and had just studied it. That's the impression that I got. So they're kind of new to this world, whereas other species perhaps aren't new to planet Earth.
Could you explain that?
Well, they were shocked, so they had an element of surprise, which indicated they'd only just been introduced to the 9/11 situation, whereas other ones, I would assume, who've been here longer, had seen it when it happened, rather than 4 years ago.
So what was the culmination of this whole event that happened in the hotel then? I mean, they showed you you had the 9/11 experience. They asked you these questions. What happened next?
Basically, they gave me more experiences, so more neurological patterns, more recordings of different experiences. Some of them were good, some of them were bad, and I don't know what they were.
It's just the 9/11 one's the only one you choose to remember at the moment.
No, I remember vaguely what they felt like, but they weren't things which I'm familiar with. So, for instance, I know what 9/11 is. So when they ran 9/11 on me, I knew, oh, that's 9/11, right? But when they ran other ones on me, possibly from other worlds, I didn't know what they were. So I can't give them a name.
And what do you mean by other worlds? So were there situations that they expected you to know about from other worlds?
They didn't. They were just giving me experiences, like their emotional and psychological experiences.
And what kind of other worlds? What can you remember anything about these?
They were higher level. They were higher amounts of love, higher amounts of compassion, technology, age. Like specific feelings that you would get if you lived on a world where people live much longer and are more evolved than we are.
In what way is that? I mean, like beings that last 100 years, 1,000 years, 2,000 years, what?
Possibly 1,000.
And from there, and what kind of beings? Could you mention anything?
Humanoid, humanoid, but much more evolved and advanced than we are. So, better intellects, better understanding of the
any
fabric
description?
of reality. Yeah, just good looking, good looking, male and female. I think they were possibly Nordic, white in appearance.
What sort of height?
Tall.
6 feet, 7 feet in today.
6 foot, 7 foot, yeah.
Not 9 foot or 12 foot or...
Maybe, but it's hard to say because the experiences were patterns. So I wasn't physically on the planet sort of looking at them. So, and seeing that their heights relative to mine, it was just experiences from other worlds as recordings.
What do you mean by patterns?
Well, when your brain has a brainwave pattern, and your emotions have like a pattern as well. And if these things were to be recorded, they could be played as an experience for someone else. But the person wouldn't see what you saw, they wouldn't hear what you heard, but they would feel what you felt and have the same neurological patterns running through their head that you had. So it would just be an experience, a feeling, a thinking pattern, but without seeing anything.
I mean, are you talking about geometric patterns of some way, or waveforms, or
waveforms?
In the same way that for instance, brain code would be, the way nerves click and the waveforms of energy patterns.
Yeah, exactly.
The way a nerve a neuron discharges.
Exactly. These kinds of patterns. Yeah.
Okay, so what was the result? What was the final thing about this?
Well, I had this concept of infinity stuck in my head, and the concept of reincarnation stuck in my head, and the whole the understanding that 9/11 was very, very bad, and indicated that we are not anywhere near as evolved as the ones that were communicating with me.
What was your knowledge about 9/11 before that?
Not very good. I mean, I saw it live because I was watching the news as it happened, and I had to go and lie down afterwards because it made me feel very very depressed.
What age were you then?
16.
There are others suggesting that well, that it's an inside job, that was the whole thing was put up by the government.
I've
How do you
seen
how do you are you aware of anything like that?
I'm aware that people have said that it was an inside job. I don't personally know, and I haven't investigated it. I'm just someone who saw it live, was affected by it emotionally, and it made me depressed, and
It's
I was
horrendous.
shocked.
Yeah.
For some time, and then eventually I had this thing happen in the hotel room where I was asked about it and given the experience of it. That the patterns.
So at that time, and I'm assuming maybe still now, that as far as you're aware that the 9/11 thing is as what the government said it was. It was planes and terrorists.
As far as I'm aware, it is what the government said it was. Yeah.
And so you weren't aware of any of the other information which has come to light since then.
No.
No. So essentially, that's how they took your experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so what happened to finish that experience off, and what?
The download started to stop, their presence started to go away, and then I was put to sleep.
And by that time, you're probably pretty tired.
Yeah, I was drained by the experience. However, something very bizarre happened a couple of days after. I went out of the hotel. I was still trying to recover from what I'd experienced, and I was walking towards the supermarket, and all of a sudden the layout changed and the architecture of the buildings changed, and there was 2 suns rather than one, and that lasted for about 4 hours.
Now, if you're inside a supermarket, how do you see 2 suns?
No, I was on the way to the supermarket.
Okay.
And the layout changed, the street adjusted, the buildings were slightly different, and they were very clean, much cleaner than what we have. And there were 2 suns, and this lasted for about 4 hours.
That's a long time.
Yeah, and there were people, but their clothes were much cleaner than is normal, and they were very good looking. Everyone was very, very like a model.
And this was where? Was this some wonderful part of London?
Well, I left the hotel, Earls Court, walked up the Warwick Road, and then I turned right on Cromwell Road, and I was walking up Cromwell Road, and I passed a billboard, and as I looked up at the billboard and looked back in the direction I was walking, that's when things...
What was on the billboard?
Just an advert. I can't remember what the advert was, but it was just one of those...
Yeah, but it seems to have affected you in some way that it changed your perception.
It's just I remember that there was a few billboards along the Cromwell Road for the cars passing by on the not the motorway, but coming down from West London.
And then suddenly everything changed.
Yeah. 2 suns.
And this was on the same day, the day after.
This was a couple of days after. Yeah.
Right. And nothing happened, or what was happened? I mean, whole of reality changes, and you got 2 suns.
Yeah, so I sat on a wall, and looked around, walked around, looked at people. I was wondering why people. I was expecting maybe that I was a foreigner, and that the people would stare at me, and something would happen, but nothing happened. They just were going about their business.
And this didn't strike you as?
It freaked me out. But I'd already had the weird thing happen.
So it was just another...
So I just thought this is another thing that's tied in with what just happened in the hotel room.
And was there anything communicated to you there? Or, I mean, did you go to any of the supermarkets?
No. When I came back, I went back to the hotel.
I mean, 4 hours is a hell of a long time to spend in a different reality.
I was walking up and down, sitting on a wall, looking at the buildings, looking at the people. I was fascinated by what they looked like.
What about cars and fashions and?
Very clean. So everything was just much cleaner than here.
But essentially, the cars didn't change. Did the supermarkets change? Were these Tesco's or
to be honest,
Sainsbury's or whatever?
To be honest, everything went like empty, if that makes sense. Like there wasn't any cars. There was just people.
I mean, were they walking about did they have babies?
No.
Walking dogs or whatever?
No. Just normal clothes that were very, very clean. much better looking than normal. All looked like models. The buildings were all super clean and slightly different to our ones, but not that different. That was what was very strange to me, is that things weren't that different. So for me,
But did you see any names of trade names or anything,
No.
anything like that?
no Nike or
But what was the advert that you looked at suddenly? Can you remember that?
I can't remember, because it could have been a TV show or a film or something like that. You know, it wasn't particularly outstanding in my memory, and I didn't really focus on it and read it or
I mean,
anything.
can you remember anything about that advert?
No.
But
I mean,
all
for
you know is
instance,
that as soon as you looked at it, everything changed.
no, my head was just looking up, and there was a billboard, and then I looked back down, and then that's when, you know, that seems to be when it started.
And how did it start to manifest? Did it sort of instantly happen?
Just like that, you know. What I thought when I was in it, I thought maybe I'm in a parallel universe. So I thought maybe it's different, but not too different, if that makes sense. Because the thought that I was on a different planet popped into my head because of the two suns. So I was like, there's two suns, different planet. But then I thought, but it's not that different. It's just a bit different. So then I thought I must have slid parallel into a different universe, a bit like Sliders.
Yeah. You've seen the TV series.
Yeah. But there wasn't like a big wormhole and then you jump in the wormhole. I was just walking and then it happened. But I was of the opinion that perhaps it was similar. You know, I've gone parallel, so I'm in a world which is maybe, you know, just a little bit different rather than radically different.
Do you feel that, I mean, this is something I'm picking up possibly, that perhaps they were demonstrating the other worlds to you?
Maybe.
Based on what you'd just been downloaded the previous day?
Well,
a couple of days ago?
There's no telling what that did to me, you know, what that did to my body. It could have made my body slightly vulnerable to interdimensional experience. Also, we don't really know, like, if time and space and is completely, you know, temporal and linear. You know, there might be some sort of anomalies that can happen. So you can be walking down the street, but possibly you can slightly slip into a different realm.
So do you think you just spent exploring another part of the universe or another dimension?
For me, I would have to say it felt like a parallel universe, where it's basically a planet with people on it, but it's just slightly different. There's two suns rather than one. The people, their clothes are very, very clean, and they look really like models, you know. So.
Okay, so that finished. That just that particular experience.
It slipped back again. So I came back to this one.
And you just continued on with your life?
Well, not really. I came back to the hotel and I felt traumatized. So I laid down for a good couple of hours, you know, and tried to figure out I was trying to figure out what was going on, especially from the couple of nights before. And then the two suns really affected me, seeing two suns like that.
Can you, in any way, what was the sky like? Blue, slightly pink, or what?
Pink, slightly pink and beige.
And what was the position of the sun? Anything to do with the sun? I mean, they're definitely
they were very close. You know, they weren't like two small circles in the sky quite far away. They were close. So like, you know, one of them was, you know, I could see it was popping out from next to a building, and the other one was just there. You know, like I could see all of it.
Maybe a bit like sometimes you see the moon and the sun in the sky at the same time. They're very rare occasions.
Yeah. But they were both light, like bright and yellow, and you know, very, very bright. It was the middle of the day, so.
Okay, well, what happened after that? What was your next experience, or what did this mean to you in your life at that time?
It damaged me. You know, the experience damaged me. It made me afraid of you know, all sorts of things. You know,
such as,
like what is the meaning of this? The meaning of life. you know, how come I don't have any answers for what I've experienced? I couldn't go to the police. I thought, why, you know, there's no number for me to call. I can't call the police and tell them what I've been through.
So is this really the first time you've told this to others, apart from the radio show?
It's one of the, you know, this is one of the first times that I've told people. Like, I haven't told many people.
Yeah. So
especially not in this much detail.
Yeah. I mean, so how does this feel to remember this?
A bit uncomfortable. Yeah. I mean, I feel a bit anxious, and you know, it's trippy, you know.
But you've had experiences since then.
Yes, I have.
Right. Well, we're coming near to the end of this section.
Sure.
So I think we'll use that as an opportunity for a bit of a break.
Okay.
And then we'll go into your other experiences and,
sure.
and how that happens.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thanks very much. Okay.